Okay. So let's see. I have my mic turned on
The
now.
event's working. The event we set up is working.
Oh, it is. Okay. Okay. Now, and I have this pulled up so I can see the comments.
There's
Uh,
a delay for sure, Robert.
yeah, there's going to be a
Like,
30-second delay.
oh damn. All right.
So okay. Turn my mic off. Let me know real quick, everybody, if you can hear me, and we're just gonna work our way through this. We've had some fun, to say the least, getting the live stream started. And also, let me know if you can hear my guitar. So there's a little bit of a delay. So if you see me just kind of sitting here, audio is going in and out. Is the audio still going in and out? Like I said, there's a little bit of a delay. So if you guys see me just kind of sitting here for a second, um, okay, here, is my voice okay? Is the guitar okay? Because once we have it, then we will just get sounds good. Awesome. Okay, I think it was going in and out. I was flipping the mic in and out when I was talking to the guy. I said we've been fighting to get this stream to go, but I think we are all set now. So you guys, you can see me. Let me get my face out of the picture because I'm just confusing myself. It's good now? Awesome. Woo! Colin and Carl, we did it. Okay, so let's get going. Now, one thing before we get too far into this live stream, we are going to have a special discount code for anybody who is watching right now at the end of the live stream for one of the courses here. So, and just like I said, just kind of hang in there and stay tuned for that at the end of the live stream. It'll be, hopefully it might be up on the screen, or it's going to be in the description, on the sidebar, something like that. You will see a link to get that. So let's go ahead and just get started on this. So, you know, what we're talking about is mastering the pentatonic scale for beginners. And, you know, the pentatonic scale is by far the ultimate scale that people learn. And basically, I'm going to do a chunk of a lesson right now, and then we're going to do like a little Q&A section, which you guys can ask me about the topic at hand if you want to. If you have questions. No sound. Do you still have no sound? Let me know if you guys still do not have sound. So Gregory, I don't want to be rocking and rolling on this lesson and no one can hear me. Because it's showing me good levels on everything. So let me just get one more confirmation from you guys that you can hear my voice, and then we will be going. It's working. It's fine. Okay, cool. Charles, the live stream is probably going to be about 45 minutes to an hour. We've had some technical issues kind of getting it rolling, but like I said, for now we're just going to go with it. Favorite teacher on the site? Well, thank you very much. Good? Okay. Then we are good. We got this now. So anyways, what I was saying was, so the pentatonic scale is such a common scale, and I think two things happen. It's the first scale that everyone learns, so it's kind of like that beginner scale, and it gets written off really quick because instantly people want to jump to, they want to learn the harmonic minor. It's real dark sound, stuff like that. I'm trying to get my mic out of my way so you can hear me a little bit better. There we go. You guys should still be able to hear my voice. Okay? And it's just such a nice scale. So kind of like getting your feet started on it is, I guess I should say your hands starting on it, is start by learning one box, for beginners. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to do box 1 of A minor pentatonic. And a lot of you probably already know this one, but we're just going to walk through it anyway. So it'll just be 5th to 8th fret on the low E string, 5th to 7th on the A, 5th to 7th on the D, 5th to 7th on the G, 5th to 7th on the B, and 5th to 7th on the high E. Now, once you have that, you just want to start by being able to ascend it. Just get that underneath your fingers. And actually, and if you're a total beginner to this stuff, I don't even care how you're picking it yet. Just get your, focus on one hand getting it going. Now, once you kind of have like the scale down, now I want you to focus on alternate picking the stuff. Okay. Scale ascending and descending now. Alternate picking. So what happens here is, that sounds like a scale. Hear you to the left, guitar to the right. I wonder why that is. Yeah, that I'm not sure about. But we'll just kind of test it out for this first one. Now, like I said, now you have that. I'm just going to say that we're to that point now. Now, what happens is people tend to want to move out of box 1 into the next boxes and all that stuff, and that's totally fine. But one thing you can really do is focus on playing box 1 in a lot of different ways. So we already did it the very scale approach way. Now what I want to do is this. We're going to kind of switch it up a little bit. Because I found the more ways you can play a scale, the more directions you can kind of go through it, the easier it is to understand and comprehend, what you're trying to figure out. Because a lot of it is just, trying to connect what do we hear with our hands. So, can I go over the scale once more? Sure, man. So, like I said, I'm using the A minor pentatonic scale. So that's just 5th to 8th fret on the low E string, 5 to 7 on the A, D, and G, and 5th to 8th on the B and high E. So that's kind of the quick version of it. Hey, Mark. And I said, should we alternate pick speed? Yes, you want to alternate speed because of alternate pick because of speed and just efficiency of kind of moving through the scale. So that's why that's so important. Now, the next thing I want you to do when you're playing through your pentatonic scale is we're going to play the same notes but in a different order. So we're going to be playing 5th fret on the low E string to 7th fret on the A. So I skipped a string. Because just because you have the scale, you don't want to fall into the trap of always playing in order. So you're playing 5th fret on the low E string, 7th fret on the A, then you're going to go to 5th fret on the A string, 7th fret on the D. So the way I kind of view this is like little power chords moving across the strings. I just move it accordingly to the scale. So I'm just going to go 5 on the D, 7 on the G. Here it switches a little bit. 5 on the G to 8 on the B. 5 on the B to 8 on the high E. So now we have a different sound all of a sudden. It doesn't even really, to me, sound like a typical scale anymore. So then when we descend, I'm going to flip it around the other way. So it's 5 on the high E string, then to 8 on the B. So hopefully you can, like I said, if you have your guitar with you right now in front of you and you're kind of like singing that, it's like, oh yeah, it's a little bit of a diagonal kind of staggered way of going through the scale, which is gonna help when you're, like I said, no matter what level you are, just kind of moving it through. And like I said, we're visualizing it differently, and most importantly, we're playing it differently. You're hearing the notes in a different order. There's a lot of stuff that's going into play. Turn the guitar down a little bit. I'll turn the guitar down a little bit for you guys. And feel free to, feedback, volume, stuff like that. Let me know. This is our first time doing it on here, so all of your guys' feedback is going to help us a bunch. And I know someone said that the guitars were left and right. So now we have that kind of going on here. And like I said, it's this very diagonal approach. Okay? It's giving us different options all of a sudden for our notes. Now, another pattern that I want to do is we're going to incorporate some string skipping, because the next step is understanding, first thing is learning the scale, and then getting efficient at playing that scale the way that it's kind of like laid out for you. Now, the next one is, like I said, kind of altering how you're playing through the scale. Now, next, what I want to do is we don't need to play, the strings that are next to each other anymore. Now we're going to be doing some string skipping. This is going to give us a bigger interval in between our notes. So, again, we're altering the sound and, the hopes of creating a more creative kind of outlook on the scale. So we're going to play 5 to 8 on the low E string. And then you go 5-7 on the D. So we skipped a string. We went from the low E string to the D. Still all within the scale. We're not doing anything too crazy. Then you're going to go to 5-7 on the A. Hop down to the G, 5-7. Then you're going to go to the D, 5-7. 5-8 on the B. 5-7 on the G. 5-8 on the high E. Let me know if this. Let me know if the voice is now on both sides. Yeah. So if anybody has questions at the end of the lesson, I will be answering all your questions for you. So we have that kind of going on. Again, we're altering. It doesn't remember what we initially started with. We started with a straight scale. And I'm not gonna lie, I like the way the pentatonic scale sounds, But at the end of the day, no one goes to pay to hear someone play, the pentatonic scale. They go to hear them maybe play the scale in a musical way, and that's what all this stuff is doing. It's linking it to what will eventually be music. Because when you put this over a backing track, which to me is, once you have the scale under your fingers, you should be playing over a backing track. And with a metronome, of course, but a backing track as soon as possible. And the reason for that, and this is something I tell all my students, and it's made a huge impact on them, and it's just because you want to hear the notes that you're playing over music. Because that's what whoa. Sorry, anybody with headphones. Our end goal is 99.9% of the time to play music, whether it's your own music or covering music, but that's what we're here trying to do. That's why we're learning to play the guitar. So to play the scale in a non-musical way is really fighting what most people are trying to accomplish with the instrument. So we have that going on now. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to incorporate box number 2 of our pentatonic scale. So that one is going to be up here. And it's going to go 8 to 10 on the low E string. Now notice I'm using my middle to pinky finger. This kind of sets me up a little bit more. So then I'm going to go 7 to 10 on the A. Okay, then 7 to 10 on the D. 7 to 9 on the G. 8 to 10 on the B. And 8 to 10 on the high E. Okay, so we have, I'll do ascending. And then you want to descend. this shape is a little bit trickier, and I meant to mention it in the beginning, I forgot, that you can kind of do to actually learn things quicker, is by doubling the phrase, or the sequence, whatever you want to call it. So, like, on this one, like I said, the first one's pretty easy. It's standard the way that the notes are kind of laid out for us. Now, this one, what we're going to do is you're going to have to play 8 to 10 on the low E string, but you're going to play it twice. Okay? Then you're going to move down to the A string. Then you're going to go 7 to 10 on the A. Then you go to the D, 7 to 10 again, but you play it twice. Go to the G, which is 7 to 9 twice. And you go to the B, 8 to 10. And the high string, 8 to 10. Now what's happening is, you want to be alternate picking because it's very crucial that your technique is accurate here, because what's happening is you're doing everything twice. So think of it, it's twice the muscle memory being built, twice the techniques. So if you have bad technique, you're also learning that twice. So it's important to really sit there and notice how I have my hand, my thumb is back here on the neck, giving me lots of kind of like reach around the guitar. So I have plenty of ability to stretch my hand out and all that. So that's our next one. Now, obviously from the first one, we've already established quite a few different ways of getting through our scale. You can just straight up play it. Now we introduced the whole doubling sequence. And, let's try taking some of those earlier ideas and putting them into the pentatonic scale box number 2. So right here, what we're going to do is we're just going to be playing 8 on the A string to 10 on the A. I'm sorry, 8 on the low E string, 10 on the A. So there, again, power chord shape. Now I'm going to play 7 on the A, 10 on the D, 7 on the D, 9 on the G, 7 on the G, 8 on the B, I'd probably do 10 on the B, and then 8 on the B, and 10 on the high. So, okay, so there's that. And, awesome. I'm glad it's coming through good. So, like I said, already we're really building some territory here. Maybe as I played the wrong notes. And you could just sit there on like a small sequence, like maybe there's a little area that gives you more trouble than the neck. Slowly kind of build over speed. That's where a metronome really comes in handy, doing stuff like that. And look, I'm using all 4 fingers, So lots of different kinds of... Let me try to move my chair up a little bit for you guys. I'm afraid my neck is kind of like dipping and you guys aren't getting the full guitar. So now that we have 2 individual boxes established, what I want to do is we're going to combine them. That's the first thing, Don't get, caught up in trying to learn all 5 positions, all over the neck, stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to do that eventually, but why not master a few? And can't hear me over the guitar. Okay. Why not master a few and then piece it together? So we have 2 boxes now, and that's where we're going to kind of like mash them together to get us out of the thought process that you can only play in 1 box at a time. So let's ascend box 1. Okay, now we're going to descend box number 2. So it'll be like this. So all I'm doing is starting in box 1, 5 8, 5 7, 5 7, 5 7, 5 8, and 5 8. Now I shift up to box number 2, 10 8, 10 8, 9 7, 10 7, 10 7, 10 8. So already, now we're kind of breaking out of the mold of, look, I got my hair stuck on the guitar trying to meet the strings. We're breaking out of that mold of thinking that you can only play 1 pentatonic box at a time. So, and that's how I would practice that, very much with a metronome, just kind of sitting there, just going through those and all that stuff. So Just kind of sitting there and building up that you know, that muscle memory. Just getting used to it. 'Cause what's going to happen is once you have this really learned and down, you are going to be able to focus on how you're playing the note and not so concentrated on what note can I or can I not play. You know, and I think that's what happens. You know, our consciousness is divided to where it's like, I don't know if this is the right note I can play, and you know, how we're playing it is affected greatly by that. 'Cause, you know, once you have the scales down, then it's like, what do I want to do? Maybe I want to slide. So like I said, I'm not so concentrated on what note I can or can't play. It's how do I want to play the note. So now we have two boxes kind of working together. Now, there's a lot of other areas you can kind of like dive into with these, because honestly the next area I recommend going into is learning some, you know, basic pentatonic licks, and we have a lot of videos here on Guitar Control where we've done that. I have quite a few that I just shot. There's some really cool pentatonic ones, like blues flavored licks. I think it just came out not too long ago on the channel, and if you look at them, learning stuff like that is nice because you're learning how to relate what you're seeing to what you know. Like you see it and you're just like, oh shoot, I like all that is like it's fun. You have there's nothing better when you have one of those guitar moments, and you know, and it's just like you're learning something and then it hits you that like this is just the pentatonics. You know, it's like it's such a great feeling because you know it's like an accomplishment. Like, oh, I recognize that. So I'm gonna show you guys a couple simple licks, but they're going to be able to just kind of like, you know, hopefully have that little like red light moment where you're like, oh shoot, that's just this. So of these two boxes, a very simple pentatonic lick would be this. However fast you want to get with it. But I'm just going 5. Now I am doing a hammer-on now, so this is a little bit different. You could pick it if you wanted to. I'm going to go 5 hammer-on to 8. Pulling back off to 5. And then 7 on the G. So picking is down, up, but I'm adding a little bit of palm mute on it to clean it up. Okay? So you're just going to be able to sit there and, you know, be able to just run through that effortlessly. What's happening here, more than just the lick, is the sequence we're learning. Because what could we do with this idea of, you know, one note, hammer on, pull off, and one note on the string above it? We can move that through the whole scale. You know? Same idea, same concept, just moving it straight through that scale. Or maybe you just want to move to a different spot. So another thing you could do is move it up and into the next box that we learned. So, and this is all just working with those two boxes that we learned. So, we're going to go 8 to 10, pull off to 8 on the B, and then 9 on the G. So, I'm repeating it, and stuff like that. You know, it's such a simple kind of like concept, but sometimes that's what you need. You need like a simple outlook on the concept, and just, you know, the ability to kind of connect those dots between it. So let's take that idea of, do it through the whole scale, you know. Maybe. If you're like me, you like to use notes that aren't in the scale, just to make sure that people are paying attention. So hopefully you aren't like me and you use the right notes. But you know, so right away this is happening, you know. So that's just simply, literally, box 1, box 2. It's so just kind of like important to get those two down, because, you know, don't worry about moving on. Just get these two down really, really well. And then I wouldn't even necessarily go to box number 3 next. I would go to box number 5. So let's just do it. Let's go to box 5. And the reason is because box 5 is a very easy box, and it's very motivating to learn an easy, part of the scale. And all of a sudden you have more of the fretboard available to you, which can be daunting because it can be overwhelming if you learn too much at once. It's almost like an overload of knowledge. Suddenly you know too many notes. It's like, what note do I pick? I can use all these notes. That's where thinking simple, and we'll talk about a little bit later, comes into play. So. Yes. So make sure you guys. I'm gonna go a little bit longer on this lesson, and then I think it'll be Q&A. Carl or Colin, if you guys are watching over at Guitar Control, let me know how we're doing on time and stuff. But and then we're gonna do an open Q&A where you guys can ask me all your questions. Like I said, I know this is the first one. This is the first one for us, first one for you guys of the Guitar Control TV. So let's go ahead and add box 1 or box 5. So box 5 is great because it starts back here, giving us some of these lower notes. Like I love to kind of like rock you. That's like groove central. So it's 3 to 5 on the low E string, 3 to 5 on the A, and then 2 to 5 on the D, and then 2 to 5 on the G. Okay. And then you go 3-5 on the B and higher. So. That's box number 5. And you can easily take anything that we just did. Power chord idea. Guess it'd be or you could do the string skipping idea. Okay, so there's all that stuff going on. And, it's just so crucial because now, think about how we were doing the one before, though. How we we ascended box 1, descended box 2. Let's add box 5 into the mix. Let's ascend box 5, descend box 1, ascend box 2. And you want to get to where you can just loop through these. Okay? And the speed is not important. Lots of stuff, that just to kind of break out of that pentatonic scale. And the more you do this, and there's so many other ideas. This is just the first one that we're kind of kicking things off with here, and we're just kind of moving through these, and it's all a matter of just how you're kind of moving through the scale. And sorry, I need to get there's like something popping up on the screen. How you're moving through the scale. It's basically how you're taking that scale and putting it into a more musical situation. And the final thing I'll do here, like I said, Carl or Colin, if you guys are watching, let me know because I think we're about at time. And then I will give you guys the promo code, and then not promo code, the special offer that we have for you, and then we'll do the open Q&A. So let me pull up a metronome real quick because I want to show you guys a cool little trick when you're practicing this stuff with a metronome. There's too many apps on my phone, too many guitar apps. So if we have a metronome, and I'm just going to do it at 80 beats per minute. and we're playing this scale, there's two big ways to practice something like this. You can practice in the very technique way, which I 100% recommend. I highly, highly, highly recommend practicing in a technique applied. Okay, and then we're just sitting there, and you're playing through this, and you want to be able to practice the technique side, and also practice. Oh, hold on 1 second. Okay, here we go. This thing was not working. So you have this, and like I said, there's a very technique way to practice. So we're just going to do 2 notes per click. Like this. Hopefully you guys can hear both of those. I'll kind of put it by the mic. Way of practicing it. Now, what I would also like you to practice doing is a very rhythmic way, because what this is doing is this is putting the notes in a very musical pattern, basically. So if I was to play it musically or rhythmically, think about exactly what it's saying. So we have it. And we're you can have fun with that for days. That's basically giving you a rhythm to play off of by just simply having that little click going. That's all it takes. You can practice all the stuff because there's different ways to play. Like you can play something with groove. There's like that's a very straight. That's a very like straight approach to it. Or you could sit there and practice it with a little bit of swing to it. Same notes, swing. Swing kind of those ghost notes, stuff like that. But when you're doing that with your scale, it helps a lot because what it's going to do is it's going to really improve your improvising and your rhythmic kind of like approach to it. Because like I said, even with doing all these things like this, you still need to put a certain amount of rhythm to what you're doing. So whenever you play, very rhythmic with what's happening like right there. So we have just so many different options. That's only 3 boxes, and like I said, kind of referencing back to the beginning, is make sure that you really, really, really apply it to music as soon as possible. So, and luckily YouTube is amazing because we can just type in A minor rock backing track, and you could have the simple riff that's going on. There's our riff. Just play your straight scale over top of it, and it's going to for one, build your confidence because you're playing with music, and there's other instruments and stuff like that in there, and it's just such a great thing to be able to play something and all of a sudden you hear it, and never be afraid when you're practicing if you hear something. And what I mean by that is you're playing over a rhythm, and all of a sudden you're like oh, run with it. Run with that idea. That's inspiration hitting, Just play with what's happening. So I think that is an extremely, extremely crucial part of, the whole kind of process of writing just, what all is happening. So I think we are going to hop on over to the Q&A. Let me know real quick here, Carl, if that's cool with you. And we are just gonna kind of run with it. So if you guys want to, go ahead and start putting your questions in the chat, and I'm gonna let them up because there's a little bit of a YouTube delay, so it gives me about 20-30 second delay. So go ahead and any questions you have, we're gonna go ahead and sit here and answer a bunch of them for you. Mike, so this is a bit overwhelming for you. Honestly, Mike, the best thing to do if this feels overwhelming at all to you, what you want to do is just sit there and focus on box one. Don't try to overexert yourself and give yourself too much, because you don't want to feel defeated at all. So go back to what we talked about, and like I said, they're going to put this video up on YouTube. And go back to that first one and sit there and just work on box one all night, all day. Box one, and work on the different ways that we talked about going through it, alternate picking, stuff like that. And once you have that really memorized, applying it becomes much, much easier. So that is kind of how to. Like I said, if it feels overwhelming, I mean, I know it's a lot of information, but you can 100%, you can get it. I guarantee it. So I'm letting the chat kind of. Feel Your Love Tonight. Ooh. I'm trying to remember it. I think I'm doing a Slash song, Guns N' Roses. Halen. Van Halen for you. I want to be able to flow from box one to box two. Do I just join out of them? Yeah, part of it is just being able to sit there and play through them, but also you want to eventually get to where you're linking the boxes to to each other, not necessarily by just sitting there playing box one, box two, but get to where you kind of come up with licks, or just maybe do 3 strings of box one and 3 strings of box two. So notice how I'm combining them together now, but not as in each of the entire scales. So that's definitely a big way to kind of accomplish that, where you can just kind of like flow between them, because then you start seeing the scales, how they link. So lots of ideas for that one. Feel Your Love Tonight. So I'll hang out for one more minute on here if you guys have questions, and then, like I said, I'm going to let you guys know about the little special offer that we have for you. So thank you all so much for tuning in. So I know there's a delay on here. Yeah, maybe we need to do some Van Halen lessons in the style of Eddie Van Halen licks or something like that on here. Cool. Alrighty, well, I really hope you guys are enjoying all these lessons. I really, really enjoy. It was fun, awesome. I really enjoy working with Guitar Control. They've definitely been a great company to kind of like come on board with, and I'm there's so much positive feedback from you guys. I'm glad that you like them, and like I said, we do have a special discount code for you, not discount code, but discount link for you. And it's been pretty cool because some of you guys probably know that Guitar Control has been around for quite a while. 10 years. It all kind of started with Claude. You see him on the channel and stuff like that. It started with his Killer Guitar Control Secrets little series. And what I really dig about that is the premises is, it's about playing from kind of like your heart. I always say, play what you feel. And that's what it's based off of. And it doesn't mean that it's just like this thing of like, oh, just play with your heart. That's all you need to do. It's really, really, it's like the Killer, Guitar Control Secrets and stuff like that is such a good kind of breakdown of just the three, to me, main areas. So, you're going to be able to sit there and walk down through a bunch of techniques, stuff like that. Next you're going to be working on your fretboard knowledge, which, this is where you take your techniques and apply it into actually the fretboard knowledge that you have. So, and then the final step is really, and this is what, guitar players work on all the time, that ability to sit there and connect what we're hearing to the fingerboard. So it's such a fun process when you start seeing that unfold. You'll never forget it, and it's the most addicting thing in the world on the guitar, just because all of a sudden you're playing what you hear, you're playing what you've always wanted to play. So that stuff to me is super, super just important, and just it makes it so fun, at the end of the day. So that's fun. So like I said, this is for anybody who's watching the video right now. I really appreciate you guys hanging in there. I know we had some technical difficulties and stuff like that. So you can get 15% off of that if you would like. That is down below. I think they put it in the chat right here. Yep. So yeah, make sure you guys go check that out. And like I said, if you want to snag that, I think if you guys dug this lesson, I think you would really like the series. So let me see real quick. What's it called? That's the Killer Guitar Control Secrets series. Awesome. I'm glad you guys liked it. When will the next one be? I'm not real sure, actually. Are we doing these? I'm not sure about that either. I know there's going to be a lot of these. So I think, right now we're just kind of working out the bugs and figuring out the best way to stream to get it to you guys. And, I think this was, very successful. I really enjoyed this. Yeah, see, coming early. And there's going to be a lot of different instructors and all that stuff. So I'm sure you guys don't want to just look at me the whole time. Awesome. Well, thank you guys all so much. I am going to hop over here real quick. And I just want to make sure that I end it the right way, because I don't want to risk this getting deleted. I know there was a bunch of you guys who wanted to watch this again. So let me make sure that I end this correctly, because I would be bummed out if you guys went back later and the video was not there. Okay. Yep, there's still 26 people on here. High five. Nice. You're very welcome, Bob. Yep, do not forget